Hello and welcome to Election Exchange. I'm Parikshit Luthra. 89 seats across 13 states and union territories go to polls tomorrow in the second phase of the general election. This includes the remaining assembly segments in outer Manipur as well. Over the next 30 minutes, we shall be discussing the key constituencies that go to polls and touch upon the key poll issues. First, let's head to Kerala. The Congress and the Left Alliance partners at the national level are rivals in the state. The Bharatiya Janata Party, which garnered a 12% vote share in Kerala in 2019, is upbeat as well. Remember, BJP is the only state in India where the BJP has never won a Lok Sabha seat. Neetu Raghukumar joins us from Thiruvananthapuram. Neetu, what are the crucial seats in battleground Kerala that you're watching out for?
As Kerala goes to polls, Thiruvananthapuram, Thrissur, Wayanad are among the high-profile constituencies here. In Thiruvananthapuram, it's a three-cornered fight between Congress's sitting MP Shashi Tharoor, BJP's Rajiv Chandrasekhar and CPI's Pannian Ravindran. Now, Shashi Tharoor is seeking election for a fourth term, asks people to vote in the name of development that he has done and the stand that he has taken. Rajiv Chandrasekhar says that he's talking about the politics of performance and asks people to vote for him for development of Thiruvananthapuram. Meanwhile, CPI's Pannian Ravindran says that both these people have been ministers of state and when their governments were in power and have done nothing for Thiruvananthapuram. So it's a tough fight here. BJP has high hopes here because in the last two elections in 2014 and 2019, BJP had come second. In Wayanad, Rahul Gandhi is contesting from there. CPI has brought in one of their national leaders, Annie Raja, into the poll fray, and BJP has brought in their state president, K. Surendran. So there is a tough fight, but last time Rahul Gandhi won this seat by a huge margin, and this has been a typical Congress bastion, a Congress seat. Now in Thrissur also, the BJP has high hopes because actor turned politician Suresh Gopi is contesting from there, and the last elections he has been able to increase the vote percentage by a huge margin. But CPI's V.S. Sunil Kumar and Congress's K. Muralidharan is contesting from there. So these are some of the high-profile constituencies.
All right, we're now joined by Aditi Phadnis, political editor at Business Standard, political analyst Piyush Joshi and Karan Verma joining us as well. Aditi Phadnis, if I can begin with you. We've seen a volatile political campaign over the last 2 weeks. The Prime Minister's remarks against the Congress party over Muslim appeasement in the past, referring to Manmohan Singh's speech, and also as per the Congress's manifesto. The other issue, the inheritance tax issue. Do you think this is going to affect voters, the elections in this phase at all?
Well, I think the Prime Minister's speeches and comments have to be taken in the context also of the Assam election, which is now over. One part of it is over. And the issue of immigrants, the issue of people who are illegally in the state and so on and so forth. I think that was not so much, his remarks were not so much aimed at Kerala, although, I mean, if it works, that's fine. But largely, I think it was aimed at Assam.
Right, you feel those remarks were aimed at Assam. But let me also go across to Piyush Joshi and Karan Verma now. Karan, what impact do you think the whole issue of inheritance tax and redistribution of wealth, which the Congress has been the target of over the last few days, do you think this is going to resonate at a national level in the constituencies going to polls in the second phase?
Parikshit, I think it's going to resonate big time because for the first time, we are seeing manifestos actually being discussed. I mean, just today we saw that the Google searches for inheritance tax, for Sam Pitroda, they've peaked. They've peaked to a point where people really want to know what is this inheritance tax that we are talking about? What is wealth redistribution that we're talking about? And the Prime Minister and his entire election machinery has gone about it full hog. So I really think this is something where the Congress had to do a lot of answering. They haven't really been able to answer as to how they will do the wealth redistribution. Of course, there are issues different for different states. For UP, for example, I can talk about The last time BJP won 7 out of the 8 seats. This time around, they have a very strategic alliance with RLD in West UP. So, they are going to consolidate there. They won 7 out of 8 last time. They look for a clean sweep there. In Kerala, for example, that you talked about, BJP is still to open its account. And, in the Supreme Court, the Kerala government is there talking about the central disbursement of funds, where the Supreme Court has wrapped them on their knuckles and the Kerala government has defaulted in giving salaries to the government employees. So there are different issues for different places. Largely, I see the turnout increasing in this one. Last time around, BJP won 55 of the 89 seats that are going to polls. BJP would really want to up its ante this
Right.
time around. Let's see how it unfolds.
Okay. Okay, Piyush Joshi, do you think the sharper tone of the BJP's campaign and the Prime Minister's pitch in the second phase has something to do with the low voter turnout in phase one?
Well, absolutely it does, because the low voter turnout has the BJP worry, and you just analyze the Prime Minister's speech and the content of his speech. It is mostly 80% based on religion and criticism of the opposition parties wherever he is campaigning. Hardly 10 to 15% he is mentioning his own achievements of last 10 years, and that is why the Prime Minister's speech, as far as my opinion is concerned, has become obnoxiously hyper acidic. And about talking about inheritance tax and wealth distribution, this inheritance tax was just a passing mention made by Sam Pitroda, and nowhere it is mentioned in the Congress's manifesto. What the Congress has what the Congress party is talking about is including the caste equation in the economic survey, and including the religion equation in the economic survey. There's nothing wrong with it, because ultimately the economic survey, this is a business channel. The economic survey is all about assessing the inequality and forming policies to correct that kind of inequality. So that is what the Congress is talking about. But talking about inheritance tax, I don't think that is an issue as far as the Congress is concerned. The Congress has already made it clear that they do not plan on executing that kind of taxation. They have nowhere mentioned the word redistribution. All the Congress party is talking about, whether it is Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi or Priyanka Gandhi, is that they are going to include all kinds of all sectors of the population in the economic survey, and then they are going to form policies based on that. I don't see that there is anything wrong with that. If there is an economically backward section, policies should be addressed on on tackling inequality, because ultimately the ultimate goal of any economic policy is to reduce inequality, and that's that.
Right. Let me go back to Aditi Phadnis. Aditi Phadnis, we have seen the BJP winning 2 terms consecutively because of the Prime Minister's immense popularity, the work done by the BJP government, and also a lack of a national alternative. This time, we hear a lot of debate over jobs, over opportunities for the youth, over the need for a simpler taxation structure, inflation, price rise, and also maybe lack of industrial development in some pockets. Now, do you think these will pose a challenge to the BJP, which is also facing anti-incumbency?
Well, to be honest, I have been out in some of the areas where the election is due tomorrow. And in those areas, all the things that you mentioned are being discussed. But the bottom line always is Modi ji is there. He stood by us when we were in trouble, and he has more things up his sleeve for us. So we are ready to vote for him. There was a widespread social sort of fear, especially among the Dalits, that if the Modi government gets too big a majority, they will change the constitution and they will snatch away the right of reservation. That the BJP is worried about this is clear from the repeated clarifications that have been given both by Prime Minister Modi, by Home Minister Amit Shah, and other functionaries. At the same time, it is top leadership of the BJP in states which is repeatedly saying that once they come to power, they will change the constitution. So there is a problem here which the BJP is not able to get around. In terms of
Right.
the reality on the ground, in terms of employment, etc., these are continuing concerns. They were there in the last election, they were there in this election, and they will probably be there in the next election as well. So I don't think this is anything that is going to lead to a re-evaluation of the Modi government.
All right, let me go back to Karan Verma at this stage. Karan, it is extremely important for BJP to win in battlegrounds where it has not won traditionally, win more seats in the south for that matter, win seats in Tamil Nadu, win seats in Kerala, where it has not won before. Do you think the party will be able to make inroads? It has campaigned there a lot. The Prime Minister has visited these states. But at the same time, there is a cultural setup, there is a demographic setup as well.
Oh, absolutely, Parikshit. I don't think they'll make much inroads in Kerala, if you ask me honestly. I think the vote share will go up. It was 12% last time around, which was high, but it didn't convert into seats. Thiruvananthapuram is one contest that I'm really looking forward to. I believe Rajiv Chandrasekhar has a serious chance of winning against Shashi Tharoor. Besides that, Karnataka is very crucial for them. Let's not forget, Karnataka, they lost decisively in the assembly elections a few months back. But since then, there has been a wave of anti-incumbency already against the state government, which has defaulted on its promises, which is having a complete collapse of law and order, if I may say so, molestation cases going up. DK Shiv Kumar has said that, 50,000 crores have been earmarked just for the guarantees and they don't have much money for development. So Karnataka is very crucial. Last time around, they had 25 of the 28 seats. They've made an alliance with JDS, which is a very strange alliance, the Voka Lega and the Lingayat alliance. It'll be interesting to see how that works for them. So Karnataka is very, very crucial, how the alliance between JDS and BJP works out. But by and large, I'll say this, Parikshit, if you talk about the broader parameters, this is a pro-incumbency. Today, the unemployment rate, as per the periodic labor force survey, is 3.1%, lowest in 6 years. Inflation is 4.9%, less than 5%. GST collection last month was the second highest collection ever. So, the numbers look good for them. Even if we talk about EPFO subscriptions, they went up from 11 crores in 2014 to 27 crores. Even if much of it was formalized, even if we take 50% of that, there are serious new jobs that have been created. So this entire propaganda that jobs and inflation are an issue, they're not really an issue. Of course, there's a lot more that needs to be done. Suggestions are welcome. So I think the BJP is still all in all on a very strong wicket. I don't know whether they'll do 400 par or not, but I see them romping home, and this phase is very crucial for that.
All right. Piyush, coming back to you, and the final question to you also. When it comes to the India alliance, there is no one face that you are able to put up. There are many contenders for the post of the Prime Minister or the PM candidate there. Does that make it challenging for the opposition alliance to put up a front foot or really campaign hard in the Hindi belt and across all the constituencies going to polls tomorrow?
Well, I don't think so, because let's say, when this year began, nobody gave any chance to India alliance as such after they lost heavily in 3 states. Now, what has actually happened that there are different leaders in different regions and they are campaigning heavily. And after this first phase of election is over, then the sincerity of India alliance is being perceived and is being felt. And that is why the Prime Minister has gone all guns blazing when it comes to criticizing the opposition parties. The inflation that Karan was talking about, it's less than 5%. That is what the whole point of debate is. That where the data fudging that is being happening in this government is just phenomenal. Because you talk to anybody across the street and they will tell you that how the inflation has affected their daily budget. And so is the case with unemployment, that we can talk about all the different reports that have been coming out of various corners, and we will never come to an agreement till the cows come home. And as far as the India alliance is concerned, all they are talking about is this kind of anyay and how they are going to correct this anyay and bring nyay. How much that message is going to get them home, we have to see. Karnataka, definitely they are going to lose. There is no doubt about it. Uttar Pradesh, they won 62 last time, so whether they are able to better on that figure remains to be seen. But yes, the Hindi heartland is the stronghold of BJP, no doubt about it. Certainly, I personally disagree with Karan when it comes to the number of seats. I see Bharatiya Janata Party ending somewhere between 200 to 250 seats this time. If this kind of momentum the India Alliance is able to carry through the elections, I find it tough, but it's a battle of narratives.
Okay.
Let's see who brings it home.
All right. Thank you very much, Piyush Joshi, Karan Verma, Aditi Fadnis, for the perspectives that you shared today on Election Exchange on CNBC TV 18. We're taking a short break here. Up next, we will be joined by senior Network 18 editors as we discuss the key seats from UP and Madhya Pradesh. Welcome back. You're watching Election Exchange. Let's now turn our focus to Uttar Pradesh. 8 seats in the state go to polls tomorrow. This includes the crucial seats of Gautam Budh Nagar, Ghaziabad, Meerut and Mathura. 7 seats go to polls in Madhya Pradesh. We're now joined by editors. Manmohan Rai of News 18 Uttar Pradesh joins us from Lucknow. Sudhir Dikshit of News 18 MP joins us from Bhopal. Sudhir, if I were to ask you, अगर हम आपसे पूछना चाहें कि मध्य प्रदेश में इस वक्त क्या स्थिति है इन कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज में जहां चुनाव होने जा रहा है, क्या लगता है आपको?
देखिए, बिल्कुल मध्य प्रदेश में 6 सीटों पर चुनाव होने हैं और ये जो 6 सीट हैं, खासतौर पर जब सेकंड फेज का इलेक्शन होना है तो ये जो 6 सीटें हैं ये बीजेपी के लिहाज से और कांग्रेस के लिहाज से भी बहुत ज़्यादा महत्वपूर्ण हो जाती है। इसको ऐसे हम समझ सकते हैं कि इन सीटों में जो दमोह की सीट है वहां पर केंद्रीय मंत्री जो पूर्व प्रहलाद पटेल थे उनकी सीट है, वहां पर बीजेपी ने कैंडिडेट चेंज किया है। दूसरी सीट खजुराहो, पन्ना खजुराहो, वहां पर बीजेपी के प्रदेश अध्यक्ष वीडी शर्मा जो है वो चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं, वो सिटिंग एमपी वहां के हैं। लेकिन समाजवादी पार्टी ने जो इंडिया गठबंधन है उसके तहत इसको समाजवादी पार्टी को ये सीट मिली थी, लेकिन समाजवादी पार्टी का जो नॉमिनेशन था वो कैंसिल होने के बाद अब उन्होंने ऑल इंडिया फॉरवर्ड ब्लॉक को अपना समर्थन दिया है। तो ऐसी कंडीशन में आप ये मान सकते हैं कि जो पन्ना खजुराहो की सीट है वहां पर बीजेपी को एक तरह से वॉकओवर मिल चुका है, जैसा आपने सूरत में देखा था। तो लगभग खजुराहो की सीट है। अब ये देखना होगा कि खजुराहो सीट में जो मार्जिन होता है, जो विनिंग मार्जिन होता है वो कितना होता है, ये चैलेंजेस रहेगा। दूसरी दमोह की सीट है। तीसरी एक सीट जो हमें जिसपे सबकी नजर है वो सीट है सतना। सतना को आप इसलिए अहम मान सकते हैं कि उत्तर प्रदेश के जो बॉर्डरिंग इलाके हैं उन इलाकों को ये सीट कवर करती है और वहां पर बीजेपी से जो कैंडिडेट है गणेश सिंह वो विधानसभा का चुनाव हार चुके हैं और उन्हें जिन्होंने चुनाव हराया था वो कांग्रेस से मैदान में है। वहां पर दूसरी तरफ बीएसपी से नारायण त्रिपाठी आ गए। तो कहीं ना कहीं एक चीज समझनी होगी कि मध्य प्रदेश की जिन सीटों पर चुनाव होना है वहां पर सोशल इक्वेशन जो होती है वो बहुत मायने रखती है। इन सीटों पर सामाजिक समीकरण है, यादव वोट है, अहिरवार वोट है, एसटी एसटी और ओबीसी का जो कॉम्बिनेशन होता है वो कॉम्बिनेशन यहां पर डिसाइडिंग फैक्टर के तौर पर काम आता है। तो ऐसी कंडीशन में सतना की जो सीट आती है वो चैलेंजिंग मानी जा सकती है। एक और सीट टीकमगढ़ की है, वहां से 7 बार के सांसद और 2 बार के जो सेंट्रल मिनिस्टर है वीरेंद्र खटीक वो चुनाव लड़ने जा रहे हैं। तो कमोबेश उस सीट पे बहुत ज्यादा चैलेंज बीजेपी के सामने नहीं है, लेकिन सतना की जो सीट है वहां पर उनके सामने चैलेंज होगा। इसके बाद रीवा की जो सीट है वहां पर इलेक्शंस होना है। रीवा के बाद एक सीट हमारे पास आती है होशंगाबाद की सीट है, जहां पर सिटिंग एमएलए जो थे वो मध्य प्रदेश कैबिनेट में मिनिस्टर बन चुके हैं, वहां पर कैंडिडेट चेंज हुआ है। तो कुल मिलाकर पहले 7 सीटों पे चुनाव होने थे। बैतूल में एक कैंडिडेट की डेथ हो गई थी, तो ऐसी कंडीशन में बैतूल का जो चुनाव था वो 3rd फेज में होगा। तो 6 सीटों पर जो चुनाव होने उसमें अभी बैलेंसिंग नजर आ रहा है। लेकिन सतना जो सीट होती है, सतना सीट को लेकर खास तौर पर बीजेपी को ज्यादा मेहनत करने की जरूरत पड़ेगी। बाकी 5 सीटों पर बीजेपी कंफर्ट लेवल में है और बीजेपी ये दावा भी कर रही है कि वहां पर हम इस चीज पे नजर बनाए कि हमारी जीत का मार्जिन कितना होगा। हालांकि उन सीटों पर समाजवादी पार्टी के जो उम्मीदवार है या कांग्रेस का जो कैंडिडेट है उसको इंडिया गठबंधन ने अपना समर्थन दिया है। जी
Okay, please stay with us. Manmohan Rai, if we can come to you at this point. The seats in UP going to polls in phase 2, there are some prestige battles. We have seen some big names like Arun Govil, Hema Malini, all going to polls. Mahesh Sharma of the BJP, a former union minister there. How critical is it for the BJP to continue its winning streak here?
Yes, you're right. You know, this second phase in UP, this has traditionally been BJP stronghold. Last time also they won 7 out of 8 seats. Well, they only lost Amroha, where Danish Ali managed to win. This time again, the BJP is hoping to wrest 8 out of 8. They are very hopeful of winning Amroha also this time. The rest 7 they already had in their bag, and they have been traditional BJP strongholds. The BJP candidates here have been winning the last many elections. So they are very confident of retaining the 7 seats and winning 1 extra Amroha, so that they have 8 seats out of 8 this time. These are largely urban pockets of Western UP. If you go through the names of the constituencies, these are mostly big urban areas like Noida, Ghaziabad, Meerut, Mathura, and these have been BJP strongholds for a long time. Even in the pre-Modi era also, many of these seats were with the BJP. So they are very confident. Phase 1 was delicately balanced, but phase 2, if we talk about the BJP, they are very confident about this phase.
All right, you're saying the BJP is very confident about this phase. And also, Manmohan, if I were to ask you about the campaign that the BJP has led over the last few days, raking up the inheritance tax issues, accusing the Congress, saying that they have an intention of redistributing the wealth of the people, also accusing Congress of the Muslim appeasement policy. Do these things really resonate with the voter on the ground, or this is something that the common man often does not understand?
Yeah, you know, this subject came up only a few days back, so it has yet to percolate to the lower level, to the small towns and villages of the state. But because, this second phase, many areas are urban areas, I just mentioned to you. These are big cities, urban areas. So, and many, as we know, people in the urban area are relatively more well off. They have assets, land assets and other assets. So it has become a talking point. I won't say it does not resonate. It has become a talking point, and especially because in this phase, there are more urban areas, and these topics, these issues are largely concerned to the people who live in urban big cities. So I would say that it has become a talking point. It's not necessarily a big topic for the hinterland, but for urban areas it is.
सुधीर जी, I'd also like to ask you, ये जो हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसीज जहां मध्य प्रदेश में चुनाव देखने जा रहे हैं, क्या मुद्दे सबसे ज्यादा मायने रखते हैं आपके हिसाब से?
देखिए, बिल्कुल जिस तरीके से असेंबली इलेक्शंस होते हैं, तो असेंबलिंग इलेक्शंस के जो मुद्दे होते हैं वो बिल्कुल डिफरेंट होते हैं। वो उनमें जो है जनता होती है वो लोकल मुद्दों पे ज्यादा फोकस करती है, लोकल मुद्दों पे उनका फोकस ज्यादा होता है। लेकिन अभी हम अगर मुद्दों की बात करते हैं तो जैसे कि आपने देखा होगा, जैसे अभी आपने मनमोहन से सवाल पूछा था, मनमोहन ने कहा कि अभी जो मुद्दा चल रहा है खासतौर से जो इनहेरेंट टैक्स को लेकर अभी बात चल रही थी कि विरासत पे टैक्स लगाने की बात हो रही है, वो मुद्दा कहां तक पहुंचा है? तो वो मुद्दा मध्य प्रदेश के चुनाव में आपने देखा होगा कि पिछले 1 हफ्ते में प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी 3 बार मध्य प्रदेश का दौरा कर चुके हैं। आज भी वे मध्य प्रदेश में थे, कल वो भोपाल में रोड शो कर चुके थे। तो ऐसी कंडीशन में वो जो मुद्दा था वो इस समय चुनाव में काफी अहमियत रखने लगा है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट मुद्दा हो गया है, क्योंकि लोगों में यह मैसेज पहुंचाना कि आपकी जो कमाई होती है, जिस कमाई का एक हिस्सा आपके मरने के बाद अगर सरकार ले लेगी या कांग्रेस की सरकार आएगी तो आपकी कमाई का एक हिस्सा ले लेगी। परीक्षित, इसको ऐसे हम समझ सकते हैं कि आप देखिए कि जहां पर अपनी पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी या जो अपनी पेरेंट्स से जो प्रॉपर्टी मिलती है उस प्रॉपर्टी को के झगड़े में लोग एक दूसरे को जहां पर मारने से नहीं चूकते, ऐसी कंडीशन में अगर किसी के पास ये डर पैदा कर दिया जाता है कि आपकी संपत्ति छीन ली जाएगी, आपके मरने के बाद आपके बच्चों को संपत्ति नहीं मिल जाएगी, तो ये साइकोलॉजिकली बहुत बड़ा जो है टॉपिक बन जाता है। और बीजेपी लगातार इस टॉपिक को लेकर लोगों के बीच जा रही है। तो मुझे लगता है कि मध्य प्रदेश में अब ये मुद्दा, चूंकि सेकंड फेज का इलेक्शन हमारे पास है, इसके बाद 2 फेज के इलेक्शन और बचे, तो कहीं ना कहीं बीजेपी उस मुद्दे को लेकर जा रही है। आपका उसके बाद मंगलसूत्र के मुद्दे की हम बात कर रहे थे, प्रधानमंत्री ने जिक्र किया था कि आपका जो मंगलसूत्र है उसको लेकर, जैसे कि आपने सुना होगा कि प्रियंका गांधी ने भी कहा था कि इस देश के लिए जो है मेरी मां ने अपना मंगलसूत्र न्यौछावर कर दिया। तो ये जो नेशनल लेवल के जो मुद्दे जा रहे हैं, उन मुद्दों को समझाना और लोग उसको किस तरीके से समझ रहे हैं, ये दोनों चीजों में थोड़ा सा अंतर है। और मुझे लगता है कि ये जो मुद्दे हैं, खासतौर पर नेशनल लेवल के जो लीडर्स जिन इश्यूज को लेकर पब्लिक के बीच में जा रहे हैं, वो ज्यादा लोगों को अपील कर रहे हैं बजाय लोकल के। क्योंकि सड़क, पानी, बिजली का जो मुद्दा होता है वो लोकसभा में बहुत ज्यादा मुझे नहीं लगता कि मायने रखता है। और जिस तरीके से अब ये चुनाव जा रहा है, खासतौर से पर्सनल अटैक्स जो जा रहे हैं उन पे पब्लिक का अलर्ट या पब्लिक उनको लेकर ज्यादा अलर्ट है। और अब ये टॉकिंग पॉइंट बन चुके हैं जनता के बीच में कि सबसे बड़ा पॉइंट तो जो सैम पित्रोदा का है, वो मध्य प्रदेश में इस समय चुनाव में हॉट टॉकिंग पॉइंट बना है कि अगर कांग्रेस की सरकार आएगी तो हमारी संपत्ति का 45% हिस्सा जो है वो सरकार ले लेगी। तो ये बहुत बड़ा विषय है और मुझे लगता है कि चुनाव पे इसका असर देखने को मिल सकता है।
All right, people are worried about that. There are some voters who are talking about this wealth tax, this inheritance tax issue that the BJP has raised, and also about certain Muslim appeasement policies that the Congress has been accused of. With that, we come to the end of Election Exchange. We thank our editors, Manmohan Rai and Sudhir Dixit, for joining us. More updates continue on CNBC TV 18.